Hi folks, welcome to another edition of Apps for Success. As always, I am your host, John Bowman, and in each episode of Apps for Success, we take a look at a different application and how it can help you in your customer success endeavors. This episode, we're going to be talking about an app called Pipefy. Now, some of you may have heard of Pipefy before. Pipefy is essentially business process management. Now, it's important to zoom in on that word process. It's something that Pipefy tries to distinguish itself about. It doesn't think it's a project management software. Instead, it likes to think about itself as a process management software. The main distinction is that processes don't really have a beginning, middle, and end. Instead, they're a repeated thing that's ongoing and allows for sort of continual learning. I'm going to get a little bit more into sort of the distinction between projects and processes later, don't worry. But before we jump into the app, as always, I do have a joke for you. Ready? Okay. Why are fish so easy to weigh? Any takers? No? It's because they come with their own built-in scales. Thank you once again for watching another episode. We're going to hop in the app right now, and thanks for listening to my bad jokes. Okay, here we are inside of the application, and where we're at is the company level. So the company essentially has your overview of your pipes. Now remember, we're on the free plan here, so I've already exceeded that, but that's okay. Again, I just love that there's a freemium tier. Anyways, so we're here on the company level. The company level is going to show you where all of your pipes are. The pipes, again, are just those repeatable, ongoing processes that are happening at your company. So notice immediately you know how many are assigned to you. This one says me, right? I've only got 4 pipes in here. Probably the one that's most important to us will be this customer onboarding one. Once we click it, there we are. Okay, so again, notice this looks like a Trello board. That's because it's using the same Kanban style methodology, okay? But there are some slight differences here. First, oops, didn't mean to hit that back button. There we go. First, we can hit the little start button, right? So we can start a company here, and this company is going to be Smith Corp. And we can add in emails, we can add in phone numbers, we can give instructions and information inside the descriptions as well as information area, values, as well as, I love this, but you can add in more fields. See how many different fields you can add in here? Short text, check boxes, due dates, etc., 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 right? So we're just going to hit the start onboarding option. When we do, we've got Smith Corp as a new card within, this is called a phase. Each one of these sections is a phase. Now notice there's nice little handy dandy information about the phase. All new customers start here, right? You can add in your own information. But what I love about these phases, and this is probably the thing that sets it most apart from things like Trello, is that you have rules or SLAs that you have to follow. So for example, we're going to click the little 3 dots here at the top, and we're going to edit this phase. When we edit this phase, you can have different settings, right? Maybe this is a welcome one, maybe this is a backlog one. And we just give it a quick name or change it, whatever we want. But what I love is you can put specific fields that are only visible in this particular phase. So every time that you create a card, you can create a new field, which is maybe, let's say location or whatever it is that you want to put in there. You can say it's a required field, right? This has to be filled out inside of this phase. That's really great. You can add in some help text. We can save that. Next thing is if we scroll down here, see we've got some fields in. We can always edit them. You can add in the questions which are extremely relevant for this particular phase of onboarding, and only those particular questions which are extremely relevant to onboarding. Notice you can always make a phase the end of a process. We don't want that because it's generally the very beginning. And you can make it so that there's a person always automatically assigned in that initial phase whenever that card is created. There are also specific email templates you can add, which are only available in this particular phase. And I love this late alert option, this SLA, right? Your service level agreement that you want to do. Now, obviously, some of you watching this are going to be more enterprise level, so you might have specific time frames you have to respond back whenever you get an inquiry from a customer. However, maybe you just might have internal time frames, and you can say, whenever a card has been in this phase for more than 3 hours, I want to be alerted. And when we were inside, when you were reading the copy for this article, that was the thing that I loved, because that's what helps you to manage by exception, right? You would be only notified if something sticks around in this phase for too long. And I love that. So we can always create more phases here just by clicking the create phase, or we can edit these phases as we're going. But we're going to go back to the pipe up here. So we've got Smith Corp, right? And take a look, we can move that over. That's really great. But we can also, take a look. If I try to move this a little bit further, see what this phase says. You can't move this card to this phase. You can't move this to the card to this phase. And again, that's another thing that I love about Pipefy. It's that you can set when and how or what conditions need to be met so that a card can be physically moved to that next phase. Essentially, it's a rule. It's not only got SLAs built in, but it says you can only move this if this other thing has occurred. Now, both of these things are features inside of Trello, but they are power-ups. Like I said inside the article, they're not really made for the program. They're kind of additional features added on top of it. Whereas Pipefy was really built with these features in mind. Okay, so that's why they kind of work a little bit better, in my opinion, inside of Pipefy. Now, just to continue along with making sure you know what you're doing, you can click inside the card. Remember, inside the card, you can see things like company name, more information on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you can enter that information if you want to, right? Was the welcome meeting scheduled? Great, we can make sure that it says that, right? If you need more information, obviously you click it, and it can give you a little bit of information about how that is all going. But that welcome meeting can be a particular email template like we were talking about earlier. You can also add in a particular date that meeting is particularly scheduled for, and any more questions the customer added in, as well as any more other fields. Now notice down here below, it's got a nice little audit trail of exactly what I was doing and how I did it. So you can always go through and know it. Again, these are all wonderful things. Now, if I click the Move To option, you may notice it says, there's no phases to move this one. But if we click this Edit option, it pulls up the different phases, right? And as I said, I can make it so that this card can only be moved to the follow-up phase, or I can make it so that this card can be moved to both the follow-up and the implementation phase. But we're going to say we're going to move it into the implementation phase. We'll select that, select implementation, and voila, it will move the Smith Corporation into the implementation phase because we're moving it along, okay? Anybody out there who's working with any team of scale will recognize, I think, how important these SLAs are, as well as these rules, these specific characteristics of each individual phase, and the inability to do something without having set first another action to be done. Now, this is just an example of how it would work using Kanban. There's always the reports option up here. There we go. And when we're in the reports option, you can see, where a particular person is located and where it's at. You've also got a ton of reporting options here, greater than, less than, for, IDs, blah, 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 blah. Due date is on a particular date. There's just two ones that you would use pretty often inside of this software. If we hit the downward view here, though, the other thing I wanted to show you is the list view. So we're looking at the Kanban view, right? The list view is very similar to the Kanban view, but again, it's just the list view, right? So you're only seeing this company's in backlog, this company's in welcome, etc., etc., etc. I don't personally like the list view in Pipefy. I think the Kanban view works better, in my opinion. I just am generally I just like list views better, in all honesty. But Pipefy is made for Kanban. So if you like Kanban and you're looking for those SLAs, you're looking for those rules, definitely want to give it a shot. I'd be remiss if I didn't show you databases. We're not going to get too in-depth here, but you can just take a quick look at what the databases are, right? You can see we've got our database of customers that are already built in because I was adding these customers inside of the company. Additionally, if we go back to the database, we can add in more, so the different departments we're working on. There we go. You can take a look at the different departments that are there. We've got our reports that we were talking about earlier. We already went and took a quick look at that, but we can always add in our own custom reports, pick the particular pipes that we want to talk about, right? We can go do reports across pipes, which is really interesting as well, right? So if you want to go across departments or even cross processes within your own department, that's something great to keep in mind. You can always save the report for whatever it is. The other thing I wanted to draw attention to here down below, though, is the automations. Now, automations are really cool. If I could get this page low, let's just hit the refresh button. There we go. So automations are really cool because if we click this automation option, when this event happens, this action happens, right? So you can say something like, when a card is created in the customer onboarding pipe, then we might want to do this particular action, which is maybe we want to create a connected card, right? So customer onboarding might be connected to the accounts receivable card that's created, right? When was this sold? What was the amount due, et cetera, et cetera. We can make those things have to be created or put input whenever we start the onboarding, okay? Now that's one option. Another option might be, whenever a sales team closes a particular customer, it automatically creates a customer inside of the customer onboarding flow and also generates the accounts receivable. Okay, you can tie these automations together. Pay us. And I really love that automation, right? Because it really, really helps your departments, which work independently, to work together. But it will also allow you to create concurrent processes inside of your own department, inside of customer success. For example, maybe at the end of the onboarding phase, you start a new card, and that new card is going to be generated inside of your, account management pipeline, right? Think about that. That's another way to get it done. As soon as it's done with this, it automatically creates that. Pretty simple, pretty easy to use. Now, you probably already have large softwares which can do some of this, but Pipefy, forgive me, I keep wanting to say Pipedrive. I don't know if you guys ever use Pipedrive CRM. I'm sure they hear that all the time. Anyways, Pipefy is a lot cheaper than most of the different programs that are out there that you might already be using. So if you're looking for, again, a great Kanban application that has SLAs as well as rules and automations built into it, I'd highly recommend Pipefy. Again, I like this a little bit better than Trello because, again, it's a little bit more complex. It allows in those SLAs as well as the requirements or the rules to allow you to move cards between phases, okay? So that's just a quick overview of Pipefy. If you like it, let me know. Leave something in the comments. I appreciate it. But folks, as always, I just want to say thank you. I always appreciate it that people take a look at these videos and reach out to me. Feel free to find me on LinkedIn if you want to. That's all for now for Apps for Success. I'll talk to you next episode. Bye-bye now.